there was this keeda inside me कि यार I want to myself see what I look like doing action because it'll be not believable.
Alpha is not just a movie, it is a movement. That is what YRF's marketing machine has been telling us for weeks. And believe me when I say this, the Alpha pre-release campaign is one of the most panicked marketing strategies I have seen from a major Bollywood production house in a very, very long time. This is not a normal promotion. This is a studio screaming into the void because they are terrified of silence.
You're goddamn right.
The podcast circus, the teaser that insulted its own co-star, and the trailer that basically handed you the entire plot before you even bought a ticket, as well as the contrast with the pre-release strategy of Dhurandhar. Pay attention to what I'm about to show you because this is not just about one movie. This is about what happens when a studio stops trusting its own story. The current state of Bollywood public relations is honestly a complete mess. Today, the studios operate from a place of deep fear. They assume the audience will simply forget about their movie if they are not screaming about it every single day. This fear leads to terrible decisions. It leads to marketing campaigns that feel like a desperate plea for attention rather than a confident presentation of art. Alpha is suffering heavily from this exact problem. The makers are throwing everything at the wall just to see what sticks. They are treating the audience like numbers on a spreadsheet instead of real people looking for a good story. The modern Bollywood PR machine is fundamentally broken. The marketing team of Alpha wants to convince us that the movie is not just a regular action film. They keep repeating that this is a mindset, a massive cultural event.
शुरू करो अग्नि परीक्षा.
They want you to believe this so badly that they push the cast onto every single screen available. You see Alia, Bhatt and Sharvari doing heavy promotions all over social media. They sit through endless interviews answering the exact same questions over and over again. And then they made a highly publicized appearance on Samir Raina's show.
So Alia ji, I can't believe you're here.
Yeah, I'm kind of regretting it right now.
मैंने भी किया था जिगरा देख के regret.
Now notice that you have a massive high-stakes spy thriller about national security, dark syndicates and lethal undercover agents. The movie is supposed to be intense and gritty. Then you send your lead actors to a comedy roast show to sell tickets. The tonal mismatch is massive and jarring. It feels like a corporate mandate pushed down by executives who have never actually spoken to a normal movie fan. The actors sit there trying to relate to the youth while desperately plugging a movie that has absolutely nothing to do with the setting of a comedy show. The audience sees right through this strategy. We know they are only there because a marketing executive looked at the analytics and saw that the comedy channel gets millions of views.
हम यहाँ अल्फा प्रमोट करने नहीं आए हैं.
तो निकालो टोपी फिर.
नहीं.
It strips away all the prestige and mystery of the film. This podcast tour strategy is basically becoming a huge problem in the industry. Actors are forced to be content creators. They have to play silly games, answer rapid-fire questions, and pretend to be best friends with the host. It completely shatters the illusion of the characters they are playing on screen. When you see a deadly spy giggling over a bad joke on YouTube, it is really hard to take them seriously when you finally sit down in the theater. The studio thinks they are building a connection with the audience. In reality, they are just cheapening their own product. They are trading long-term cinematic impact for a few days of cheap internet traffic. Then you have the big Bollywood stars suddenly tweeting their support out of nowhere. Where were these Bollywood stars when Dhurandhar was about to release? We have all seen this happen countless times. A random weekday rolls around and suddenly 5 big actors post the exact same perfectly worded praise for the movie. They all share the same poster and tag the exact same accounts. It does not feel organic at all. It feels like a coordinated PR agency dump. They want to manufacture a blockbuster illusion instead of letting the movie earn its praise. Genuine hype spreads naturally. People talk about a movie because the content is compelling and fresh. They do not talk about it just because an actor showed up on their favorite YouTube channel or because another celebrity tweeted a heavily drafted corporate message. The audience is exhausted by this fake hype. It makes a film look incredibly weak before it even hits the theaters. The promotional podcast circus was bad enough, but things only got worse when the teaser finally dropped. A teaser is supposed to do one very simple thing. It should tease the audience. It should give you a tiny glimpse into the world, establish the visual tone, and leave you begging for more information. The alpha teaser was totally underwhelming from the very first frame. It felt like a collection of leftover shots from previous spy movies that were rejected in the editing room. It felt like a product we have all seen a dozen times before. But the absolute biggest mistake was completely leaving Sharvari out of the footage. She supposed to be the second lead of the film.
It has Alia and I in it because it's the first time that you're going to be seeing two women lead a spy universe film, and
the studio spent months promoting this as a massive two-heroine action spectacle. They promised us a dynamic duo, yet the entire teaser was basically an Alia Bhatt highlight reel. It felt like a solo movie. People on the internet noticed this instantly. You cannot hide anything from the modern audience. They analyze every single frame. When you promise two heroines and only deliver one in the first major piece of marketing, you are asking for trouble. The trolls came out in full force. Reddit and Twitter were completely flooded with posts asking why the teaser only focused on Alia. The conversation quickly turned toxic. People started accusing the production house of playing favorites. They accused Alia of using her star power to hijack the project and sideline her co-star. Fan clubs started fighting with each other. The Sharvari fans felt completely betrayed. The Alia fans tried to defend the studio. The entire narrative surrounding the movie shifted overnight from excitement to pure controversy. This is what happens when you let a PR team dictate the creative direction of a teaser. They completely ignored the actual story of the film. They ignored the core concept of a two-heroine dynamic. They sacrificed the honesty of the movie just to chase a safe marketing metric, and it backfired spectacularly. The audience saw the blatant favoritism and rejected it entirely. The noise got so loud and so negative that Alia had to do immediate damage control. She rushed to her social media accounts and posted behind-the-scenes photos with Sharvari just to address the growing anger. She tried to frame it as a strong sisterhood. She wrote captions about how much fun they had working together to calm down the angry fans, but the damage was already done. Instead of talking about the action choreography or the actual plot of the movie, everyone was just talking about the missing actor. The teaser created massive confusion and resentment instead of excitement. A marketing campaign is supposed to build positive momentum and sell tickets. The alpha teaser did the exact opposite. It forced the leading lady to act as a panicked public relations manager to put out a massive fire that the studio started themselves. If they had simply cut a balanced teaser that showed both characters working together, the conversation would have been entirely different. You only get one chance to introduce a new movie to the world. Alpha wasted their chance on a massive miscalculation.
मुझे सिर्फ तुमसे बात करनी है, रोक लो तो बात कर लो.
If the teaser was a disaster of omission, the trailer was a disaster of oversharing. A good trailer is a delicate balancing act. It builds genuine curiosity. It gives you a taste of the cinematic world but firmly holds back the big secrets. It should make you want to buy a ticket to find out what happens next.
सुनाई दे रहा है, बेरा नहीं हूं मैं.
A great trailer makes you ask questions. The alpha trailer threw all of those rules out of the window. It basically gave away the entire plot in 3 minutes. It was like reading a full summary of the movie on Wikipedia before you even step foot in the cinema hall. First, the trailer shows Alia and Sharvari completely at odds with each other. It sets up this intense rivalry between the two spies. That could have been a great central conflict to explore in the dark theater. Watching them try to outsmart each other could have carried the first half of the film. It would have created amazing tension, but then the trailer immediately ruins it. It clearly shows them making up, sharing a knowing look, and joining forces to fight the bad guys. Their whole character arc is entirely exposed before you even buy your popcorn. You already know they start as enemies, realize they have a common goal, and team up for the massive climax. There is zero suspense left regarding their relationship. The emotional journey is completely spoiled. In simpler terms, when you remove the emotional conflict from a story, you are left with nothing but empty action sequences. We do not care about the punches and kicks if we do not care about the people throwing them. By resolving their conflict in the trailer, the marketing team robbed the audience of the chance to actually invest in the characters. Then the marketing team ruined the villain reveal. The trailer clearly shows Bobby Deol and explicitly labels him as the main threat. Any mystery around his character is completely gone. A great villain thrives on mystery and shadows. You want to fear him before you fully see him. You want the movie to slowly build up his terrifying presence. When you show every single card in your hand during the promotional phase, you leave the audience with absolutely nothing to discover for themselves. The villain becomes just another guy standing in a well-lit room. All the fear is completely washed away. To make matters infinitely worse, they committed the ultimate movie marketing sin, something I had called out in my teaser review. They revealed that Hrithik Roshan shows up as Kabir to help the main characters out of a jam. Imagine sitting in a packed cinema hall, the heroes are backed into a corner with no way out, all hope seems lost, then suddenly Kabir steps out of the shadows. The crowd would go absolutely crazy. The cheers would be deafening. That is the exact kind of cinema cinematic moment that generates incredible word of mouth and brings audiences back for a second viewing. But the studio sacrificed that huge moment just to get a few extra views on YouTube months before its release.
ये हमें बचाएगा?
They showed their entire hand because they are afraid the movie cannot stand on its own without a massive cameo propping it up in the marketing material. They essentially told us the beginning, the middle and the end of the story. Why should anyone pay their hard-earned money to see a movie they have already watched in bite-sized pieces on their phone? This is a classic symptom of a studio that does not trust its own director. They do not trust the script to hold the audience, so they try to bribe the audience with massive cameo reveals. It is cheap and it ruins the magic of the movies. To understand why the marketing for Alpha is so incredibly frantic, we need to look at the bigger picture. We have to look at the current state of the production house itself. The people making these decisions are not just releasing a single spy movie, they are trying to keep an entire cinematic universe afloat, and a universe is a massive financial gamble. It requires every single movie to make a massive profit just to justify the existence of the next one. When a studio builds a universe, the stakes become impossibly high. Every single release carries the weight of the entire brand on its shoulders. If one movie underperforms, the entire roadmap is thrown into total chaos. Future scripts have to be rewritten, massive crossover events have to be cancelled, budgets have to be slashed. This kind of pressure completely changes how a studio operates. They stop taking creative risks. They start relying on spreadsheets, data points and aggressive marketing tactics to ensure a safe opening weekend. This is the panic room mentality. Instead of focusing on making a better movie, they focus on making a louder marketing campaign. They throw insane amounts of money at public relations agencies. They force their actors into exhausting press tours that drain the energy out of the entire project. The creative vision is completely buried under a mountain of corporate anxiety. The Alpha strategy is a direct result of this panic. The studio is terrified that a female-led action movie might not open to massive numbers without a safety net, so they build a giant artificial one. They stuff the trailer with spoilers to prove that the movie has big action. They reveal the massive cameo to guarantee that fans of other actors will buy a ticket. They force the comedy podcast appearances to make sure the younger demographic knows the movie exists. It is honestly a strategy built entirely on fear, and that fear is incredibly short-sighted. It might help them sell a few tickets on Friday, but it completely destroys the word of mouth for the rest of the weekend. When audiences realize they have already seen all the best parts in the trailer, they go home and tell their friends to skip the movie. Now compare this absolute mess to how another recent spy movie handled its pre-release strategy. We need to talk about Dhurandhar.
पाकिस्तान का मुस्तकबिल अब हिंदुस्तान तय करेगा.
The makers of that film played a completely different game. They saw the exact same panicked industry landscape and decided to go in the exact opposite direction. They chose the power of absolute silence. As I covered in my previous breakdown of that film, Aditya, Dhar and Ranveer Singh took a massive risk by doing absolutely nothing. They avoided running around to every comedy show or podcast on the internet. They avoided paying meme pages to start fake trends. They refused to beg for attention. They simply locked down their sets and focused entirely on doing the actual work. They trusted their script and their vision. They knew that a truly great movie does not need a desperate cheerleader. When the Dhurandhar teaser finally came out, it was pure mood. It was dark, grounded and incredibly gripping.
घायल हूँ, इसलिए घातक हूँ.
The trailer that followed was raw and gritty. It established the intensely high stakes without ruining a single piece of the plot. You knew exactly what kind of movie you were getting, but you still had absolutely no idea how the story would unfold. They showed you the dangerous world, they showed you the desperate characters, and then they stopped. They left the rest to your imagination. They gave you just enough to hook you and then they completely pulled away. Absolute genius strategy. They knew their film was strong, so they did not feel the need to shout about it from the rooftops. They did not reveal their biggest surprises in a YouTube video. They saved the best moments for the big screen, where they truly belong. They understood a fundamental truth about movie marketing that the rest of the industry has completely forgotten. Mystery is genuinely exciting. When you hold things back, you force the audience to lean in and pay attention. You make them active participants in the experience instead of passive consumers. The result of this quiet strategy was insane organic buzz. The theaters were packed with people who had no idea what was going to happen next. Every twist and turn landed with maximum impact because nobody had spoiled the movie online. Dhurandhar proved that if you make a solid movie, you do not need a desperate PR agency to sell it. You do not need to spoil your own plot just to prove you have a good story. The audience will gladly do the marketing for you if you just give them a reason to care. A great movie creates its own momentum. The viewers become the most powerful marketing tool in the world. The massive contrast between these two pre-release strategies tells us everything we need to know about the current state of the film industry. Alpha represents the old, dying way of doing things. It relies on noise, spoilers, and forced celebrity endorsements to trick people into buying a ticket. It treats the audience like mindless consumers who need to be told exactly what to think and how to feel. This is a losing game.
सीता आज लंका खुद जलाने आई.
The audience catches on incredibly fast. When you lie to viewers, they simply stop showing up. Dhurandhar represents the new gold standard. By holding back their secrets and trusting the intelligence of the audience, they created a massive blockbuster entirely on their own terms. They reminded everyone that the best way to market a movie is to simply make a truly great movie. The art is marketing, the story is about the promotion. YRF needs to learn from this massive shift in the audience behavior. You cannot force people to care about a movie by yelling at them on podcasts. You cannot build genuine suspense by ruining the entire plot in a 3-minute trailer. We want stories that surprise us. We want trailers that respect us. We want to go back to the cinema and actually feel a sense of discovery. Stop focusing on the aggressive promotional packages. Stop worrying about trending on social media for 24 hours. Let the work speak for itself. Trust your content and trust your audience. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Subscribe if you haven't already and check out our latest video on Aditya Dhar directing a sports drama right here. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one.